To you live from the Gold Coast Health and Knowledge Precinct for the uh, Health and Health Innovations Showcase. Far
Something
out,
like that.
something like that. Far out. It's early days, and I'm already struggling. Steve, I've got Steve Dalton with us from Techspace. How you going, Steve?
Hey, how are you? Good.
I'm good, mate. I'm good. And sorry, notifications coming on screen. Mate, what is it you're doing here around AI? And I understand you're intersecting some other tech into AI.
Yeah, so I guess for me, the interest for me, I'm in Internet of Things as well. So it's that intersection between artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. I know they're two big buzzwords, but there's a commonality between all of those. So I'm looking a lot with Techspace. We're a lot of electronics guys. So a lot of the times with AI, it's about giving visual feedback on things. It might be controlling lights or working with devices like the AWS, the Amazon Alexa, and things like that. So we're interacting with hardware all the time.
Yeah.
With these
And,
things.
and, and Internet of Things, for the people that don't know what that means, what does that mean?
Yeah, well, I guess it's just connecting everything, right? So I think the word Internet of Things has been overused a lot. So now everyone's saying Internet of Everything, and there's all these other plays on the words. Now it's really just connecting everything. So there's a lot of bold predictions. We're going to have billions, trillions, gazillions, whatever devices on the net all connected up. Now whether they're all on the
For example,
internet.
can we give an example? So one of the examples that I know about is maybe you're driving home from work and you just say to your fridge.
How many beers have you got?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
the
not that
internet-connected
I'm
fridge
into
was
drinking beers.
So
But-
the internet-connected fridge was the thing everyone used to talk about.
That's
It
right.
sort of has happened a bit. One of the things you'll see a lot of, though, similar to what you see the graphs behind me. So a lot of people will have heard of the Nest and things like that. So connecting your home, whether it's your environmental. So your might be your swimming pool. I've got monitoring my swimming pool at the moment because it's very energy hungry, and I'm trying to get my electricity bill down like a lot of people are. So I'm keeping a careful eye on my pump as to how much power it's drawing and when it's coming on throughout the day. So I don't want to be at my home all the time just sitting there watching my pump. I can go and look on my phone and see what's happening.
I don't know, sitting beside the pool all day, mate.
I want to be swimming. So I've got just behind me here, I've got some air quality stats I'm doing on this room here. So we're monitoring CO2, volatile organic compounds in the air, temperature, humidity, things like that. CO2 is an interesting one because in a room, it can be around 600 parts per million, but if you've got a lot of people crowded in a room, like a classroom or a meeting room, that can go high. Once it goes above about 1,000 is when you start getting drowsy, when you're sitting in a meeting room.
So those kids,
open
at
the
school,
windows, right?
the kids at school that are falling asleep, it's not because you're boring, teachers, it's because of the CO2.
You're actually suffocating. So yeah, it's quite
Jokes,
interesting.
just jokes, teachers, just
Once you
jokes.
start measuring the data and actually look at the data, and once you start gathering it on a large scale, that's where AI comes in, because you then got a big data problem, right? And you want to start analysing that. So what I'm trying to do at the moment with some of my projects is get the cost of the electronics down to such a low level that we can have these things everywhere. So we've got a mass deployment weather station we're working on at the moment. We've got a Queensland government grant for that. And the idea is to get weather stations down to the hundreds of dollars rather than thousands. But not just measure the weather, we want to look at our air quality, we want to look at smog, methane gases if you live next to a dump or something like that. In schools, CO2 is one. UV, people care about their skin, so looking at the UV levels and measuring that everywhere, not just from Bureau of Meteorology, looking one place. We want to actually have that everywhere. So get that data, but then once you've got that data, what do you do with that? And that's where AI and data mining and machine learning and that comes in. So that's where the intersection is.
I love the idea around quality of air, though. I really do, because that could be have so many health benefits. In for example, bedrooms, like houses and kids' bedrooms. Just for example, one of my daughters might sneeze a lot, and all of a sudden she starts sneezing.
In your house. So a lot of people have mold, right?
It's a pretty new house, but hopefully we don't have mold. But so that's right. How do I measure that? Well, how do I measure that, Steve?
Yeah, well, that's where these sensors come in. So you've got a lot of new sensors that are coming out now that are much cheaper, smaller, and they're lower power. So now you can start to run these on batteries. In the old days, especially gas, it was mainly an industrial measuring things. You'd have to have big, chunky sensors. They're basically like little heaters, they heat the air, and there's a chemical reaction that happens, and that you can't run that on a little battery, on a little beacon, or on your phone. But now they're getting to the point where they use light, and they use infrared, and they'll basically detect the molecules in the air using light, and that's much lower power. It's just pulsing LED on, a little bit like your LED lighting in your house. So that's where you can start incorporating these things into smaller devices, and you'll start seeing these sorts of things on your phone eventually. You'll have VOC sensors for paint fumes in your phone, and you might be able to detect what the UV level is for if you in danger of getting burnt today on your phone as well, directly from the phone, rather than having to ask someone centrally that's maybe monitored 100 k's up the road.
Yeah, and so AI could actually be telling you that sort of stuff while you're just cruising around in your everyday life. It could be an alert, which is, I guess, similar to something else that you've got over there. I don't know if we can sort of pan over there. Come with me. Come with me. Come with me. Go. Yeah. So we've got some lights buzzing in the background.
Yeah.
I don't know what just came out there, but lights buzzing in the background over there. Can I point to that on screen? No.
It's very hard when you're backward, right?
It is. It's
to flip your brain.
It's there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So just for argument's sake, that was around voice control.
Yes.
Where you were suggesting that maybe in a hospital environment that doctors don't really want to be, they're all sterilized up. They don't want to go and tap on.
I was stooping down before I should,
chopped his head off.
There you go.
Okay. Don't really want to be tapping on keyboards, and that potentially they wouldn't want to just use voice to activate certain things, and that
absolutely.
was around sort of critical situations like what were you saying?
Code blue.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's in ICU when someone's having an arrest. They have a code blue, and they can potentially shout out a keyword. So you don't want to actually just say code blue. You probably want to have some keyword and then code blue, and then the lighting in the background there is basically guided lighting, a bit like the escape lighting you have on an airplane for crashes and things like that. So that will guide people to the room so they can easily get to it. They also have code black, which is if they have a security incident and that's a different emergency where they have to call the hospital security, because sadly that happens. So they may have a different keyword for that, and the lights might do something different. They might notify someone different. But the voice thing is like a really important thing, particularly in surgery when they're scrubbed up. So we have another project called Check It, which you can probably ask Matt about. He knows a bit more about, which is guided checklists, voice checklists for surgeons.
Sure. Don't reveal that one too much. We'll ask Matt.
Yeah.
Ask Matt.
Cool.
We just need to brighten this up a bit. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Steve.
It's a pleasure.
I don't know if your mind's blown, but mine is, because I just feel like there's so many opportunities here, and in one of my previous videos we talked about how AI is going to actually take jobs, and all I see is opportunities for creation of jobs, but it's that basically people need to get a little bit smarter. I think we actually need to skill up, and one of the guys suggested that we're going to become data scientists, and that's one role. Otherwise, if you're not actually into programming, I'm sure there's a marketing role there for you.
Yeah, we'll get into electronics. We've got a lot of kids at our place that love electronics, so we're trying to sort of feed their inner electronic engineer geek there. There's a lot of people talk about software, but there's lots of kids that love tinkering electronics, so there's a really good there's great opportunities there.
What about the robots taking the jobs of the electronics?
Totally,
because then it just put together all the boards.
The robots are going to get depressed, and then we'll have to become psychologists and
robot psychologists. Absolutely, I'm down with that. I can go do that one, I reckon.
Cool.
Thanks so much, Steve.
No worries. Thank you.